Bezat Hashem, we're back at the Bet Knesset, Maor Yitzchak here, 8:15 to 8:45, or sometimes 8:45, depends on the Torah day or not. So right now we are the 10th of the month of Kislev, Wednesday, the 4th day of the week of Parashat Shabbat Vayishlach. We're going to be continuing in Siman Reish Memchet. Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of discussion here. The most famous question by Alan and by Moshe. What about today? Do we go on a cruise Friday or not? Cruise that is going to go, even travel on Shabbat. So before we're going to answer that question, we're going to go into, hopefully finish the Siman. We have today, we're going to start Gimel, there's Dalet. So basically there's two more Siyafim. Zohar, please read to us Gimel out loud.
Just a second, I had some background right here. אחד מותר להפליג מערב שבת.
So one second, before you go. The question over here is, when is it allowed and what's the method, what's the procedure? That's the question. What's the procedure that you will be allowed to go on the boat Friday before Shabbat? Okay, continue.
אם נכנס בספינה מערב שבת, בקנם, was
Shvita. So what happened is, you must go into the boat before Shabbat, Friday, and you must pay for your voyage, meaning for the room where you're going to be staying, sleeping over, before Shabbat. Now, you went in on Friday, but the boat is departing. It's departing 12 a.m. in the morning, in the midnight. And by the way, that's how most boats do. Okay, there is no, what's his name? They go, especially in the olden days when they're going for a long journey, they would go in the middle of the night, start sailing. So you boarded on Friday, and you have your room, and you're there, and at midnight they're going to start sailing. That is mutar, says the rabbi. Continue. No mecha, it's a hey. Mehasfina. Okay, so first rule, says Shulchan Aruch, the condition is once you have paid for your voyage and you have settled in the room, the condition is on Shabbat you no longer come out of it. You don't come out of the boat. Okay? You could stay in the boat. You don't have to be cornered in your corners. You don't have to stay in your room, but you cannot abandon the boat on Shabbat. So basically, you did Kabbalat Shabbat, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock today. You did Kabbalat Shabbat over there, everything nicely. You made a kiddush in your room, and now you want to take a leisure walk, right? Good. You're allowed to even on the boat. But on Shabbat, before you have another 3-4 hours before set sail, maybe you want to take a longer walk. The boat is not so big. You want to take a walk on the boardwalk before Shabbat, before it's sailing, but it's already Shabbat. You are prohibited to on board. You're not allowed to get off the board. Okay, this is Shulchan Aruch. We'll discuss in Mishnah Berurah in more detail. Now, Rema. Continue.
I can't continue. They need me for Minyan.
Okay, so what do you want to? What? Just a Kadesh or what?
I'm going to listen.
Okay, I'll read.
No, I got to go to David 5.
Okay, I'm going to read, and no problem. You go. You listen. Sorry. So Rema says the following. Says Rama, wait a minute. There are many poskim who say you don't have to stay on the boat. Listen, what are you going to do? You need to take a long stroll. So you want to get off the boat. Some say even before the sails, you're allowed to, even on Shabbat, get off the boat Still, דמאחר שקנה בשביתה מערב שבת, מותר אחר כך להיכנס בשבת ולהפליג. He says, some rabbis hold, since you already acquired the possession, acquired the lodgings, since you acquired where you're going to be sleeping and that's yours, you already settled, it's like your house. What's the difference? Going in and out of the house on Shabbat is mutar. So some rabbis say, even though it's a boat, here, once you have accomplished that acquirement, that is going to be mutar. You're allowed to get off the boat, on the boat, even on Shabbat. Okay? So far, so clear. Continues the Rama. V'yesh she'osim kiddush b'sfina. Some start even making sure to do a kiddush, to start what's his name, to accept Shabbat and do kiddush. ואחר כך חוזרים לביתם ולנים שם. Oh, so what happened was in the olden days, it was not just common that the boat would be what's his name. You come in and you settle in the boat and then a few hours it sails. No, sometimes you would actually, the boat would be start loading and getting sending passengers for 3-4 days. It would take so long to get the whole boat ready, right? So a Jew came in and he acquired for himself the place before Shabbat, and it's going to start sailing on Monday b'chlal. So the rabbi says here, so what happened was, let's say the boat is not, forget about Monday, let's say the boat is going to sail 5 p.m. on Shabbat morning. So some say you could actually, you booked the room on the boat, you paid the rent, and you paid for the room. So some say he doesn't want to sleep Friday night in the boat. He wants to be comfortable in his bed, right? So he buys everything and he settles everything. So the rabbi says, so how can you spend the night at home? On one condition. He says, go to the boat on Friday night, make kiddush in the boat in your lodgings. After you complete everything, finish the meal, go home, sleep in your bed, and you are allowed to come back on Shabbat morning or Shabbat afternoon, right? And set sail on Friday on 5 p.m. Even though it's still Shabbat, that is not a problem. That's allowed, says Rama, according to this opinion. Continues the Rama. So Rama says that this is a customary thing. It's not like Shulchan Aruch over here. You are actually allowed to come off the boat and you're allowed to sleep in your house. And even though you're going to set sail tomorrow while it's Shabbat, not a problem. And whoever does that, says Rama, don't attack him. Okay? Do not attack him. Meaning, don't tell him you're doing something wrong. Okay? Go, you'll see that in Halachot, or later on, we'll learn in 339, Siman, and also 404, that will more elaborate that and why it's allowed. Okay? So here, Ish Mazliach wants to add something. Number one. It says Ish Mazliach, V'chen katav Maram bebet Yosef. True. What Rama is saying is actually supported by the words of Bet Yosef. שלעניין הלכה במקום שנהגו היתר אין מוחין בידם. He says, according to halacha, if let's say you took on yourself stringency, and you're following the strict halacha, so and you see people who are not following strict halacha, it's inappropriate for you to reproach them. It's inappropriate. Do not that's what the halacha and that's what Bet Yosef says. That's what we hold. That you don't reproach people or tell them what you're doing, why you're doing it, why you're not following the stringent rules. Not your business. If people are lenient in certain matters, and obviously it has to be in accordance with halacha, leniency, not because somebody made recently in my life I find out that everything became a minhag today. Everything a person does out of laziness or not knowing the halacha, oh, this is a minhag in our community. Habibi, if it's brought down to be minhag in your community and you have chachamim agree with you, well, kol hakavod, very nice. But just because you decided to make it a leniency in your lifetime and thinking this is the halacha, that's not going to fly so much. Okay, so he says, continues the Ish Matzliach, sheyesh lahem al ma sheyismochu, because people who have what to rely on, you cannot give them rebuke. וכתב כף החיים, שירא שמיים יחמיר על עצמו אם אפשר. So כף החיים is saying, no, listen, Shulchan Aruch is not allowing you this. Shulchan Aruch tells you, you cannot get off the boat. Once you took a place, you got on the boat, and the boat is gonna set sail on Shabbat. This is all specifically talking. I made a mistake earlier that maybe the boat's gonna sail on Monday. No. The set sailing is happening on Shabbat, and that's where the problem is. You cannot get off the boat. According to Shulchan Aruch, Rama says yes, you could, and again, it depends on the minhag of a makom. What's the community is accustomed to? That what is people do, and that is there is nothing to argue about, and there is no reason to give rebuke to those who don't follow the stringency rules. However, the Kaf HaChaim gives obviously he points out if you could be mahmir, beautiful. If not, then not. Okay. Gimel. Seif katan yuted Mishnah Berurah. So right now we're going to ask a question. The first question we ask at the beginning of the Seif is when can you start sailing, or what's his name? Board on Friday. So he says like this. Pirush, to explain to you what did Shulchan Aruch mean when he asked this question? What's the situation you're allowed to board the boat and set sail before Shabbat? דמחבר לא כאמר לאלה להתיר אפילו בנהרות הנובעים ולמעלה מעשרה אלא להפליג בערב שבת אבל בשבת לא וכאן עתה להורד לפעמים אבל בשבת מותר להפליג בהם. Okay, so here he's gonna tell you the Maran and Shulchan Aruch is telling you that even in the situation where he didn't mean over here to tell you that when you're allowed to board when you're allowed to sail on Friday, because we already discussed all that. That's not what he means over here. He doesn't mean over here when you're allowed to sail Friday, because we already discussed that in the first halacha. In the second halacha, discussing specifically details what traveling on Friday or not. We're not talking about traveling on Friday. So Mishnah Berurah wants to just point out that here, that once you established that you're allowed to go on Friday, right? In the cases like we said, in the cases specifically more. Where we're going for Dvar Mitzvah, where you're going to fulfill community service or whatever, or you're going to free Jews, you're allowed to sail on Friday, we spoke about, right? But here he wants to tell you, not just Friday is allowed to travel, even if the boat is going to leave on Shabbat, and that's the whole Seif Gimel is talking about. So, Chav, Shvita. So what does that mean? You bought for yourself a place, the lodging where you're going to be sleeping over. היינו שישב שם כל בין השמשות עד שתחשך. So Mishnah Berurah explains what does Shulchan Aruch mean? Shulchan Aruch means you must board, and this is a very, very important point. You must board on Friday, right, before Shabbat. And how do you acquire the place where you're going to be lodging, where you're going to be sleeping in the boat? You must remain in that room for the entirety of Ben Hashmashot, from sunset till stars come out. Okay? So whatever the period is, 13 and a half minutes, 20 minutes, 36, whatever the time is, you must remain in the room, and that's how you acquire that you could go in and out of the room, but it has to be that lodging, that period that you're in the room, and that's how, what's his name? Mishnah Berurah explains Shulchan Aruch that it has to be this. Okay, that's what it means. Koneh ba shvita. The word koneh ba shvita, that you kinyan acquired in it, the place of lodging, must mean that you cannot go in there. Let's say Friday, right? Then go out of the room. The according to this Mishnah Berurah, what about if you're going on a boat, and the boat has a lot of Jews, right? You have sometimes you need a whole group, a minyan, a group of 10 people. They're going to Eretz Israel to collect money, and 10 different yeshivot, right? The question would arise if they all board the boat on Friday, okay, If the boat sails before Shabbat, it's not a problem. The question is over here, if the boat sails on Shabbat, and I would think there would be a problem if these 10 people decide to make a minyan. And obviously when the minyan is done outside of the rooms. So the shaila is, the question would be, would there be allowed to make a minyan outside of their rooms? And that's when we usually pray. That's when we do Kabbalat Shabbat, Ben Hashmashot. Ben Hashmashot, Kabbalat Shabbat, Arvit, we do all those things. So Lechoira, over here, maybe we're going to tell them, if you want to make a minyan, the minyan has to be mitkayem, the minyan has to be established an hour before Shabbat, before Shkiyah. According to this Mishnah Berurah, it's mashma, it's obvious to me that they all have to be, and that's what Shulchan Aruch means, that they have to be in their rooms during Ben Hashmashot. That means they cannot make a minyan during that time. It has to be minyan, do Kabbalat Shabbat hour earlier, according to Rabbi Yehuda, like we do in the summer. Mistama. Just a side note, okay? Siv Katan Chaf Aleph, Vehu Shelo Yatza. Okay, so Shulchan Aruch says, you're not allowed to go off the boat on Shabbat. Okay? Why is he so meticulous about that? Okay, if that's not the case, that will be the case. If you don't give that restriction, Asur l'kanez bo b'Shabbat mipnei shenireh keshat al pnei hamayim, v'ze asur kemo shekatuv siman shin lametav. Oh, so he says, why does Shulchan Aruch asur? Why is he saying you're not allowed to get off the boat? Because Shulchan Aruch holds in Siman 339 over there that you're not allowed to float on water on Shabbat. So what happens over there? What we're talking about? That you are boarding the boat on Shabbat. It's like you're you're transgressing that prohibition. You're floating on Shabbat, okay? And floating on a boat on Shabbat or b'chlal on the water will be asur. The question is, what about our pools, right? So there's a lot of people say go swimming on Shabbat. So maybe going into the water on Shabbat, it's like a mikveh, into the pool, it's like a mikveh, so maybe that's not, the problem is over here, he's saying that mipnei shenirah keshat al pnei hamayim. Oh, the floating.
I think I missed something. Why would be asur to float on a boat on Shabbat?
So he says, no, it's not just on the float on a boat. You're not allowed to start floating on Shabbat. There's a prohibition. Yeah, you're not allowed to. Let's say you want to float. So what about taking a ferry? Oh yeah, very simple. There is a minyan opposite side of my village. We have two villages, right? We have two villages connected by a river, right? So I don't have a minyan in my village, and there's a minyan on the other side. On Shabbat, I'm not allowed to take the ferry, the float. You know, there's a float. In all the olden days, they had a rope. You know, people moving with the rope on a float. You know what I'm talking about? Like a ferry from one edge of the river to the next edge of the river, and they used to pull it by the boat by a rope connecting it, and there would be like a piece of wood on it under it, and you would just go on that wood, and you could float for the other side. Shabbat is asur. Even for the bar mitzvah, even if you want to go float or go get a minyan over there, you're not allowed to. Okay, Zohar. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're talking. That's what we're talking about here. That now you got off the boat on Shabbat, even after Ben Hashmashot, you cannot go back on it. Says Rama, Shulchan Aruch is explaining, Mishnah Berurah explaining the Rama, Maran, that it's a problem is because it seems like you're going to be starting to floating on Shabbat. Once you go back on the boat, you're floating on the ocean. So that's different issue. Now we see. There's another prohibition here. Okay? Once we get there, we'll get more details. B'ezrat Hashem. Siv Katan Chav Bet continues Mishnah Berurah. The Ma'achar, Chav Bet. What is that? The Shari. Oh, so Rama argues, and he says, I'm not like Shulchan Aruch. Rama says that it's permitted. As long as you did Kiddush on the boat, then you get off the boat, you go for a stroll and come back. Not a problem at all. Why doesn't he worried about this floating business on Shabbat? Let's see. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Okay? Hainu, we're in the middle, we're in Chav Bet, Sif Katan Chav Bet. Hainu, da al yedei ze, havia la sfina kebeito, ve'enu nireh keshat kshenichnas ba b'Shabbat. No. Here in this situation, says Rama, disagreeing with Maran, now that you made a kiddush in the boat and you acquired your lodgings, it's like your house now, 100%. So if it's like your house, we have no more problem with that you're floating on Shabbat. It's your house. What's the difference? It's like somebody owns a house by on a beach, right? And his house is over the water. You know the Seagate houses? Zohar, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Those houses that's standing on poles? Actually, it's not the floating. Those houses don't float. Okay, it's not the same thing. It's not a good comparison. Even though you could come out of your house, go on the porch of your house, and under you there's about 15 feet of water. Alan, you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
In Seagate...
But it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not, because it's not floating.
No, in Florida, you have the docks everywhere.
No, docks is, again...
No, something else.
The docks is not a problem, because again, as long as the house is not floating. But I would say, go to Shanghai, not Shanghai, go to China, outskirts of China. Sometimes you see, they have like people living, the houses are floating in the boat, in the ocean. You know what I'm talking about? They have houses. The houses make like boats or whatever, and people live there. That's their normal lodging. So says Rama, I don't understand you. That's your normal lodging. What are you going to tell a Jew? Don't live there? You hear the point of Rama against Shulchan Aruch?
Yeah.
So that's what Rama says. That since if people own such houses, people build houses on the edge of waters, and people live there. You can't tell them, don't live in your house because now there's a question of you floating on Shabbat. This that there is a Yisur in Siman 339 that says you're not allowed to make yourself float on Shabbat on the water. It means temporary thing. It's not your house. Here, says Rama, you acquired the lodging on the boat for Shabbat for the entire duration of the trip. It's your house. So it's just like your house. If it's your house, you're allowed to go in and out. That's Rama. ואפילו לדעה זו אין מועיל קניין השביתה אלא שיהיה מותר להיכנס בספינה בשבת, אבל כשמגיע אחר כך ליבשה אסור לו לזוז מארבע אמותיו, כמו שכתוב בסימן, ואם הגיעה הספינה לעיר המקופלת מחוצות, אין שם הגעה. However, there is a restriction here. This is the question I believe Alan asked the other day. But let's say here you set sail on a cruise ship. And the cruise ship now, so you said, this is my house, right? You made a kiddush on there and everything. Everything is nice. The boat lands in another country or another city on Shabbat. Says Rama, that's without a doubt, it's prohibited completely to get off the boat. Why? Because it's not the same.
Why?
Because now there is a restriction of the 4 amot, meaning like this. On a regular boat that I boarded on Friday, and I made a kiddush on Friday night, and now I'm coming out, the boat never moved, the 4 amot never moved from its surroundings. So what sounds like over here, the Rabbi is telling us, when the boat landed on somewhere else on Shabbat, the reason you're not allowed to leave, it's like you're leaving, you're forsaking the domain. There's a problem with you leaving the radius of 4 amot. It's maybe you weren't there on Shabbat. It's like a new creation here, right? When it was the boat was by your shore where you live, you were in that area. You're in that surrounding area. Now that you're coming to a new location on Shabbat, you're not allowed to abandon the 4 amot, which is like your surrounding area, which is the boat. So within the boat on Shabbat, you're allowed to walk anywhere you want. But to get off the boat, it's like you're going into a different domain and setting yourself in a different domain, which was not there Friday Ben Hashmashot. It wasn't there yesterday. You hear the question?
Yes, but question to ask you, if you don't mind me.
Yeah.
I'm taking a cruise for 5 days.
Okay.
Okay. I left on Thursday. Everything's fine. I did my kiddush. I did everything on Friday night.
Good.
On Saturday, it stopped me in the Bahamas for the day.
Yes. Since,
Okay.
so that's what the rabbi is explaining.
Yes.
So the rabbi says,
I'm getting off for the day, and I'm coming back to the boat, and then we're sailing again for another 3 days.
I got you. So the rabbi says that's for sure not allowed. The problem is because on Friday when you made Kiddush, when you made Ben Hashmashot, that new location was not in your vicinity. Since you were not in its vicinity, it will be prohibited to you now to go into a new vicinity that was created, Lechora, technically speaking, it's a new creation like. Now you're in a different world. That's what we also, that's why you're not allowed to go off with on Shabbat. Okay, so now, what's the story? In the Gemara, when there was a question and there was allowance, everybody probably remembers this Mishnah, Rabban Gamliel and his friends, they were traveling, and the question was, can they onboard on Shabbat? Over there specifically, it's talking about when the boat reached before Ben Hashmashot, before Shabbat, into the destination where they landed. It just took a while for them to put out the plank to onboard. So if that plank is placed to be on board for the Jews, for the rabbi and his friends, not allowed to leave the boat. That since they put a blank for the captain and for the sailors, now the rabbis are allowed to use that board. But why were they allowed to get on board on Shabbat? Because they were already in the vicinity on Shabbat. So now we're learning a new concept. That since we are coming and we're creating a new vicinity, we're creating a new, sort of speaking, new land, new creation. Till now, I was in New York on Friday night, Ben Hashmashot. Now I'm in Miami on Shabbat, right? Or Bahamas, whatever. Now that it's this new vicinity is a new creation. And because it's a new creation for me, I am going into it, I'm Mecharel Shabbat in that sense. I'm creating a new vicinity. And that's the Yisur over here. Alan, you hear?
Absolutely. Now I understand.
So now that's what will be Asur. Okay, ואפילו לדעה זו אין המועיל כעניין השביתה, אלא שיהיה מותר להיכנס בספינה בשבת, אבל כשמגיע אחר כך ליבשה, אסור לו לזוז מארבע אמותיו, כמו שכתוב בסימן, okay, and it's going to be more elaborate in the Siman 404, that on Shabbat, you're going into a new vicinity on Shabbat, that's going to be Asur also. Now, however, if let's say you have a town which is bordered off with what's his name, and I think maybe that's what the Gemara was talking about. The town is bordered with a wall, and the wall are outreaching even to the shores of the ocean. And when the boat came in, it was already inside those walls. You know, sometimes they have this like an outstretch of a wall all over, and the ocean. You're going through the entry. It's already in the vicinity of the town. So that is a question of what happens if, and that's exactly what probably we're talking about over there. Why the Rabban Gamliel and all his friends were allowed to onboard on Shabbat, because they were already in the vicinity of the city, as we have mentioned. I know, Alan, you have to go. Let me just finish this here, and then I'll let you go.
I'm still good. I'm still driving, so I'm good.
Okay. אבל אם לא יצא מהספינה מעת שקנה שביתה, מותר אחר כך ללך במקום שיגיע לבשה עד 2,000 לכל רוח. Oh, so there's another rule. Says if, this is a little bit confusing here, but stay with me for a second. אבל אם לא יצא מהספינה מעת שקנה שביתה, however, once you enter the boat and you settled in your lodging before Shabbat, and now the boat set sail, okay, and the boat set sail, and now it came to Bahamas. From Miami, came in on Shabbat to Bahamas. Okay? He says, מותר אחר כך ללך במקום שיגיע ליבשה עד 2,000 לכל רוח. Oh, so here, that since you never abandoned the ship, so on Shabbat, you were sitting on the boat, meaning this is your place of lodging. Says the Rama, if you landed in Bahamas, you're allowed to travel in Bahamas within 2,000 amot of the area, the radius. You're not allowed to pass the tchumin. So here, since the boat and it's wherever it's going, wherever it's headed, it becomes the new extension of it. So maybe Taka, maybe what Alan is saying, it's going to be mutar. You set sail on Thursday, let's say Thursday or Wednesday or even before, doesn't matter, right? And you reach a destination on Shabbat. Here sounds like Rama, Mishnah Berurah is telling us you're allowed to go out, you're allowed to onboard on Shabbat. So long as you know you remain within 2,000 amot of the onboarding.
Exactly.
So basically 4,000 feet, there will be allowance for you to travel in the new city. Okay, let's see if everybody agrees with it. Let's see. Continue. The Hanimili. So what's the condition? There's also a condition that. What is the condition? Oh, the condition has to be that the boat never reached the shore. Meaning, there has to be constantly 10 tfachim below the boat to the earth. So meaning, you catch 22. It has to be that the boat is sitting on water and it never got to the point where there is 80 centimeters between the earth, the bottom of the ocean, to the top or to the bottom of the boat. Okay? So now, what would that mean? That would mean the following, that they have to have a very big, what's his name? There would have to be a very big board, not what is it called? No? Zohar, you just said it before. Everybody has that plank. What?
Dock.
Yeah, it has to be a very big dock, because remember, because ocean, we talk about 80 centimeters. If you think about it, it's not a lot for a big boat.
No.
It's not a lot because we're talking, once you come close to the shore, there's already earth. The earth is elevated. So the question is, can you go on a small boat? Because that's why all the big small boats always used to take people off the big boats. But today they have big docks going into the ocean, like a lot of feet. So technically speaking, that whole dock could actually take 4,000 feet. You hear what I'm saying? I don't know if you could accomplish. What? What do you say?
Aren't you going from Rashid Yachid to Rashid Rabbi?
Yeah. Okay, so he's not.
If you're getting off the boat.
Yeah, so that's why you're allowed to travel within 4,000 feet. But the question is, how would you
travel? But you can't carry anything.
Yeah, well, okay. What do you need to carry? You want to go take a stroll with your wife on Bahamas? I don't understand what your problem. Of course, you can't carry anything.
First of all, you need to get off.
Yeah.
You need to scan your card to get off. To get on, you also need to scan your card.
Oh, you mean there is a... Okay, but let's say you bypass all that without a problem.
Yeah. They give you like an ID.
Oh, they create an ID for you on Shabbat also?
Yeah. They create a card. They create a card for you, and you can't just walk off the boat. You gotta.
Oh, you take your passport with you and the whole thing?
Yeah, you gotta take your passport. Yeah, I'm saying. Realistically, I don't think this is. Yeah, Jews never get off these boats.
Uh-huh.
Could you hang it around your neck?
No, but it was created for you by a goy on Shabbat. It's going to be created only if you want to get off the boat, right?
No, it's not created for you. It's not created for you on Shabbat. It's created. Those IDs are made for you before Shabbat. Exactly.
Okay, so what's the problem? You have it in your what?
What's the problem?
If you have it as a decoration, I don't know if it's a real decoration on Shabbat. It's asur to carry on Shabbat or this kind of things. Yeah, even because it's not a decoration. What's the difference? You put it in your pocket on your neck. What? What are you saying, Zohar?
An ID. It's like an ID card.
Yeah, again, We have that. Sometimes we have when we go for Pesach to a hotel, they make you a ring chain. They make you a bracelet with the ring, with the key to your room. That is allowed because that's part of the decoration. It looks beautiful sometimes. It looks somewhat decoration. But here you're gonna have an ID hanging on your neck on Shabbat. You're not. What's the difference if it's in your pocket on your neck? It's the same prohibition. That will be the same prohibition. You can't have it on your neck. You can't have things hanging on you. You cannot. Let's say like this: on Shabbat, you cannot take a towel and go to a shul because that's not a common thing. Hashem is sending rain. So what's the difference if you took an umbrella or a towel? It's the same thing. It will be asur because
just because you're gonna come out on a dock,
right?
You're not gonna see it. I mean, you can see everything from the window. You're not gonna get it.
No, the question is even the dock, the distance of walking is just that. But the question is, can you get on the dock without the ID? That's the question. If you can't get on the dock without the ID, then you probably then it will be asur to.
You cannot.
אוקיי. ובספינה גופה מהלך על כולה, אפילו אם יצא מבאר לביתו אחר כך שקנה בשביתה, כיוון ששבת באוויר בחיצות בעוד יום. So here's the important nekuda. The rabbi says that in the boat you're allowed to travel, right? As long as, again, you acquire the place where you're going to be sleeping before Ben Hashmashot, where you were there. So that's exactly what I was saying. The minyan has to be done before Kabbalah, before Shkiyah, because after Shkiyah, even it would be asur to be on the boat if you did not spend the time on the boat in the room where you're lodging Ben Hashmashot, between the sunset and stars coming out. V'im lo kana shvita klal mibod yom. Now, here's continues Mishnah Berurah. What happened if you did not acquire the place where you're going to be lodging? And the command, look in the Siman 405, the Mishnah Berurah ki hisham be'arno kol pratei adinim ha'elu. Over there, we're going to be more discussing what will be allowance for this kind of person who, I guess, boarded maybe Ben Hashmashot. Maybe that's what it's talking about. The guy came into the boat, and the boat is leaving in a mamash 1 hour after Shabbat starts, and he was very late on the boat, and he has to travel because he's doing a mitzvah, l'shem mitzvah. So he boarded the boat, meaning he got all his stuff there before Shabbat, but he himself physically got on the boat Ben Hashmashot. So he says the Siman 405 will elaborate more about that. So let's do one more. I know we have to go here. Chav Gimel. Why is it so important that you acquire the shvita, that you settle in the place of lodging before Shabbat? Says the Mishnah Berurah, "Va'afilu imcha liyom tov erev Shabbat sharei liknot shvita." The question is, what happens if you boarded on Friday, where it's Yom Tov, where you're allowed to carry, right? On Yom Tov, let's say the boat landed in the Bahamas on Yom Tov. You were allowed to have no problem with taking out your ID hanging on your, on your neck. Why? Because it's for Yom Tov, it's your key. What a goy does with it, it's not your problem. He scans it, shmens it, it's not your problem. You didn't do his sur, it's his problem, right? He does it for himself. But, so Yom Tov, he says, not a problem. Even you boarded the boat on Yom Tov, it will be allowed. And it's not that you're preparing from Yom Tov to Shabbat. Maybe he's going to make another Isur. Magen Abraham says, don't make that conclusion. Again, you might say, listen, you know that you're going to be traveling on Shabbat, so you want to board on Yom Tov. Why you want to do that? Let's do the acquisition before Thursday. Says, no, that's not going to help you anything. What's his name? We're not going to make you crazy. You're allowed to board the boat on Yom Tov on Friday. Not a problem. And it has zero Isur Shabbat involved. And says the rabbi, you could do it. And there's no need to be more machmir. Okay? Let's just do one more. Look at this.
What? Thursday?
No. The Yom Tov is on Friday. You're boarding the boat on Friday. You're boarding the boat on Friday before.
Friday night.
What?
Yom Tov is Friday night?
No, Yom Tov is on Friday, Thursday night. Yom Tov is on Friday. You're allowed to board. What?
So the Yom Tov is Thursday night, Friday morning, right?
Yeah.
Friday day.
You're allowed to go onto the boat on Friday. Not a problem. And you acquire the place before Shabbat, where your lodging is. There is no chumrot. The rabbi says don't look for chumrot over here to go there on Thursday to acquire it. They're allowing you to board only on Friday. How are you gonna board? What are you gonna do on Thursday?
How are you gonna board on Friday? They have to take your passport. You have to have your suitcases. How are you gonna?
Yeah. The goyim do that all for you. Everything is done through your.
I'm gonna do for you.
Yeah, there is no isur. You're not doing any isur here. It's not a problem. You're allowed to even carry your passport because that's your key. Your passport is your key to your house. Okay? Not a problem.
Carried where? I understand from Rabin, from the street onto the boat.
Yeah, why not? You carry your keys on Rabim, B'shut Rabim, right? On Yom Tov. Yes or no?
Okay, yeah, I'm saying that's if you're already there. If you're already there.
No. You pre-planned everything, and you have to go raise money for yeshiva, or you have to go free shvuim, whatever it is, right? You're going on Friday on the boat. Friday happens to be Yom Tov. What's the difference? You have all your.
Yom Tov.
Yeah, Yom Tov itself. We're talking about Yom Tov. Yeah, not Chol HaMoed. The luggages are prepared. The goyim are schlepping everything. They board everything for you. You go in with your passport. That's your key. Your passport is your key.
Okay, but I'm saying realistically, how do you get to the boat? You have to get to the boat somehow.
Habibi, you have your hotel was right next to the boat. Most hotels are there next to the boat.
Okay, so you're saying if it's that cool.
Yeah, everything. All chilul Yom Tov is taken care of. You're not doing any chilul. He says you're allowed to. Here's Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah is telling you you're allowed to acquire on Friday, which is Yom Tov.
What about carrying your money on Yom Tov?
Who says you carry? Everything is in luggages. The goyim doing everything for you. I told you. Take all the isurim out of the picture. The question Mishnah Berurah is saying.
Okay.
The Mishnah Berurah is saying, what about achana?
Can you board the boat? That's the question.
That's right. So he says yes.
On Yom Tov.
Yes. No problem. That's it. Okay, always try to imagine everything out of, all isurim out of question. All other isurim. Okay? Let's just finish the siman. Siv Katan Chavdalat, and that's what we're going to finish. She'osin kiddush. Oh, so Rama says, as long as you do kiddush, that's it. It's like your house. גם לדעה זו בעינן שישב שם כל בין השמשות לקניין שביתה. So he says, according to this, you must remain in the boat the entire בין השמשות, between sunset and stars come out. אלא שסוברים דלכתחילה נכון לעשות שם גם כן קידוש ולאכול מעט. So they hold that you must do more than just stay there, you must do קידוש and eat. כדי לפרסם הדבר שקנו שם שביתה ולא יבוא לו חשדם. In order to tell everybody that they're making kiddush there, to show this is our place for the Shabbat, and it's like their house, as Rama and Mishnah Berurah explains. Zero problem going in and out of the boat, because now it's like their house. Just like any time you have a house at the edge of the water, it's allowed to go in and out. So to here, it will be allowed to go in and out of the boat. Now, this is not what Maran, this is Rama pointed out. And we'll go more details in the next halakha tomorrow, hopefully. Seif Dalit. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen, Amen. Whoever needs to go to work, will make a lot of money without any headaches, without any bayot of parnasa, only benachat b'shavah b'simcha, with joy. Bezat Hashem. All right, gentlemen. Bye.